Drowned City, Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans. Illustrated by Don Brown. Early August 2005, a swirl of unremarkable wind leaves Africa and breezes toward the Americas. It draws energy from warm Atlantic water and grows in size. From a smudge of foul weather, it becomes a nasty tropical storm that erupts into a vicious hurricane with howling winds, pinwheeling counterclockwise as it does with all big storms. The National Hurricane Center in Miami, Florida, assigns it a name. It is Katrina. See Katrina down there? Hurricane Katrina slices across Florida. Although it's only a Category 1 hurricane, the least strong, Katrina kills 6 people, leaves 500,000 without power, and drenches its path with 1.5 feet of water. Katrina careens in the Gulf of Mexico, drawing 85-degree water that multiplies its strength by August 26. It is the most catastrophic of hurricanes, a Category 5 with a roaring 155 miles an hour winds, and is swirling directly at New Orleans, Louisiana, along with a major earthquake in San Francisco and a terrorist attack on New York City. Disasters experts most fear a devastating hurricane striking the low-lying Louisiana city. It depends on levees and pumps to keep it dry and driest of times. He's saying, when I have a hurricane nightmare, it's a hurricane in New Orleans. On the morning of August 26th, the National Weather Service announces that Katrina will hit New Orleans in 24 hours. As it crosses the Gulf of Mexico, the whirling storm creates an air pressure in its center, or eye, that lifts up the ocean surface into a kind of massive bubble. When this bubble is coupled with the water driven ahead of it, Katrina's high winds, New Orleans faces a surge of high water that will be 25 feet above normal. Sirens, bullhorns, church sermons, and radio and TV sound the alarms. Many of the 1.2 million people live in New Orleans and its surrounding suburbs, known as parishes, flee. They're getting out of there, trying to pack up their cars. The people who are fortunate to have a car jam the highways. The traffic crawls. One family spends 10 hours traveling only 70 miles. Still, approximately 80% of the residents evacuate, which is a remarkable success. But about 200,000 people still remain in New Orleans. Mayor Ray Nagin issues a mandatory evacuation order Sunday morning, but it's too late. The police are in no position to enforce it. Some people who have remained stayed out of stubbornness. Come on, then, storm, bring it on. Let's see who wins. I'm just more comfortable staying at home than going somewhere where I don't know anybody. But most who stay are without a means of escape, having neither a car nor the money to buy a ride out of town. 360 buses are available to ferry people to safety, but they are nowhere to be seen. We offered to take evacuees out of harm's way, but the city declined. Sorry about the light. About Monday, August 29th, the hurricane strength slips from a Category 5 to a Category 3, but it is still a monstrous, measuring 400 miles across with 121-mile-an-hour winds. At the last moment, Katrina wobbles and steers in the east of New Orleans, sparing the city a direct hit. So it's twirling and so it misses New Orleans for that moment in time. The storm is heavy. Hurricane Katrina crashes ashore at 6:10 a.m. Its eye sweeps over a small fishing town of Burris, Louisiana, and erases it. It's gone. The townspeople are all evacuated and no one dies. Along the coastline in Mississippi, a 27-foot high storm surge floods 6 miles overland and 12 miles up waterways. 231 people die. In Alabama, homes are destroyed. It's complete devastation. A drilling platform dislodges and wedges beneath the highway. In New Orleans, ferocious winds blow the glass out of the skyscrapers, windows sucking the contents of the rooms into the sky. The hurricane storm surge forces water up the Mississippi River through canals and waterways and into the Lake Pontchartrain. Waters are just terrible. The consequences are enormous. Water from waves overflowing the levees can be removed by cities' enormous pumps, but broken levees means flooding beyond the pump's strength, and it will continue 1 million gallons of water a minute until the holes are plugged or the water in the city is equal to the surface height of the surrounding lakes and canals. That's scary. There's a car there. You see that car? The levees are just not going to hold that water back. Water rolls down the streets. I don't know what's happening, but there are cars floating down there on the avenue. It looks like a river. There's the cars floating. Neighborhoods flood. It's gushing, and we can't open the door, and then the water is up to our neck. See? They're trying to get out, and the water's up to their neck. They can't even get out. Oh, baby, I don't think we're going to make it. This is a couple that's on the rooftops of their house. It's flooded. Rising water chases a husband and wife up into the home's attic. The flood doesn't stop the couple. They frantically scratch a hole in the roof with a knife to escape. In other attics, people trapped without knives, axes, or hatchets, they drown. A 500-foot barge rides through a gap in the levees and floats among the houses. A nearby oil refinery tank is smashed by the rushing waters, and 11 million gallons of crude oil join the muck and debris that's in the swamping houses. The Army Corps of Engineers, the levees the builders have promised their walls would protect New Orleans from a hurricane of Katrina's strength, but as you see, it did not. People fight the flood. Some succeed, others don't. They lie drowning, and they're on top of their houses. There's a no parking sign right there. It's underwater. There's the street signs. People are all underwater. Several thousand people take shelter into the Superdome. The city has declared the football stadium the shelter of the last resort, but Mayor Nagin, who has failed to fully stock it with enough generator, fuel, food, and bedding, although the roof is reportedly built to withstand 200 miles an hour winds, it shreds beneath Katrina's 100-mile-an-hour scoring. So it can't even hold up to that. The police are stranded as the people who need their help, surrounded by the water without electricity and no means of communicating. The New Orleans Police Department has only 5 emergency boats. Some of the cops are without rain gear, as you see that. More than a few of them run away and even leave the state. They're so ashamed that they can't help the people. Afterward, more than 200 police officers are investigated for abandoning their posts. See, they're leaving in the police car. Meanwhile, the Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries officers launched their small flat-bottom boats into the choppy waters and lashing winds to make house-to-house rescues. They're trying to save people. By the week's end, they did. They saved 10,000 people. There's helicopters. They're up there looking for people. The Coast Guard, men and women take to the air and water, hosting people out of the flood and off of roofs. And over the next 10 days, the Coast Guard rescues 33,500 people. Hundreds of ordinary people pilot their own boats to save neighbors and strangers alike. They're just friends trying to help each other. They glide